Hey, basketball fans, welcome back to Tips and Streams, your go-to spot for the hottest NBA regular season predictions. I'm Kokan, and I'm here to break down today's matchups and give you the edge you need to make the best bets. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support means the world to us. Remember, our channel has no sponsors and relies solely on the love and support of viewers like you. Even a small donation by pressing the thanks button under the video helps us keep bringing you top-notch content every day. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and fellow basketball enthusiasts. And we love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let us know what you want to see in our forecasts. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you the content you crave. Let's jump right into today's NBA predictions. We've got some exciting games lined up, so stay tuned and let's get that winning streak going.
Today we have predictions for 5 NBA games. The first prediction for today is for a game between the Houston Rockets and Atlanta Hawks. The Rockets are rolling into Atlanta, and I've got to say, this matchup has all the makings of a barn burner. The last time these squads squared off, back in February, the Hawks walked away with a 9-point dub, but a lot has changed since then. Both teams are in entirely different situations now, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they stack up. Houston is ballin' right now. They've racked up a 25-12 record, with a rock-solid 12-5 showing on the road. That's a massive leap from last season when they were pretty much roadkill outside their own gym. What's even more impressive? They've taken 7 of their last 10 games, and while they've only covered the spread in half of those, the wins speak for themselves. This squad has confidence dripping out of their pores, and it's showing on both ends of the floor. On the flip side, the Hawks are stumbling back home after a brutal 6-game road trip that saw them drop 4 of 6. Sitting at 19-19, Atlanta feels like they're still searching for their groove this season. They've been steadier at State Farm Arena with a 10-7 record, but their defense is softer than warm butter right now. Giving up 120 points a game is a recipe for disaster, especially against a Rockets team that knows how to capitalize. Houston's success isn't some fluke. Alperen Sengun is playing like a big man possessed, owning the paint and dishing dimes like a point guard. Jalen Green is a certified bucket getter, and Fred VanVleet's veteran presence has stabilized this young core. On defense, they're locking down opponents, giving up just 108.1 points per 100 possessions, one of the best marks in the league. They showed their mettle against a high-octane Grizzlies squad, proving they can handle teams that like to push the tempo, just like Atlanta. As for the Hawks, it's been a roller coaster of a season. Trae Young remains the engine, but the supporting cast has been hit or miss. Bogdan Bogdanovic and Clint Capella need to step up big time in this one, especially with Jalen Johnson likely sidelined. Coming back home should give them a bit of a lift, but they'll need to shore up their transition defense, Houston's bread and butter. The Rockets feast on fast break points, and Atlanta's been giving those up like candy on Halloween. This game is going to come down to a few key factors. First, the battle in the paint. Sengun has been an absolute menace down low, and with Johnson out, Capella is going to have his hands full. Second, tempo. If the Rockets can slow things down and force the Hawks into a half-court game, they've got the upper hand. Atlanta's pace is a double-edged sword. It gets them buckets, but it also leaves their defense wide open for exploitation. When it's all said and done, I'm leaning toward the Rockets here. They've got the momentum, they're playing their best basketball of the season, and Atlanta just hasn't shown the consistency to give me much confidence. Sengun is primed to dominate, and I think Houston's defense will make life tough for the Hawks, especially in transition. I'm taking the Rockets to not only win, but also cover the 4-point spread. And if they're dictating the tempo, I'm expecting the total to stay under 234 points. This feels like a game where Houston flexes its muscles and shows why they're one of the most improved teams in the league.
Welcome to BetUS, Sportsbook and Casino, your ultimate hub for secure and thrilling sports betting and casino gaming. BetUS is one of the oldest and most reliable online sportsbooks in the U.S., serving millions of clients all over the globe each month. BetUS, trusted for over 30 years, offers huge welcome bonuses, countless betting options, and many deposit and payout methods. Depositing funds is a breeze and safe, with a minimum deposit of just $10. Payouts are fast and hassle-free, beginning at only $50. Choose from various payout options like MoneyGram, couriered check, cryptocurrency, or bank wire. Signing up is quick and easy. For signing up, you can use the link in the description and enjoy a generous 125% welcome bonus of up to $3,000. By signing up using the link in the description, you'll also support us as we earn a small commission from your registration at BetUS. Thank you for supporting us. Join now and start winning.
The second prediction for today is for a game between the Utah Jazz and Phoenix Suns. All right, let's break this one down. The Phoenix Suns and Utah Jazz are squaring off tonight, and honestly, this game feels like it could be a roller coaster. Both teams are struggling, but for very different reasons, and there's a lot to unpack here. The Suns, sitting at 17-19, are clearly not living up to the hype for a team with so much star power. Meanwhile, the Jazz, at 9-27, are basically stuck in no man's land in the Western Conference. They've shown some fight recently, but with a banged-up roster, they've got their work cut out for them. Let's start with Utah. It's hard to see how they make this work tonight. Keontae George, John Collins, and Jordan Clarkson are all out, which is just brutal. That trio brings almost 50 points a game, and losing that kind of production is a big hit, especially for a team already struggling to find its groove. Lauri Markkanen has been a bright spot, no doubt, continuing to build on what he showed us last season. He's been a force, but he can't do it all. Walker Kessler and Kyle Filipkowski are going to have to step up big time, especially on the defensive end, where they've shown flashes of being a solid tandem. But let's be real, relying on these young guys to carry the load offensively is a big ask. And don't even get me started on Utah's turnover problem. They're coughing up the ball more than anyone else in the league, and against a team like Phoenix, that's a recipe for disaster. Now, Phoenix is a whole different story. This team is like a sports car that can't get out of first gear. You look at their roster, Durant, Booker, Beal, it's loaded. But somehow, they're still under .500. It feels like they're constantly searching for answers, and head coach Mike Budenholzer has been throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Moving Bradley Beal to the bench was a bold move, but it seems to be paying off. Beal has dropped 25 points twice in his last 3 games, and he's giving the second unit a much-needed scoring punch. On the flip side, Jusuf Nurkic has basically disappeared from the rotation. He didn't even see the floor in there when over Atlanta, and all signs point to the Suns shopping him for a better fit. Mason Plumlee has stepped in as the starting center, and while he's been solid with his rebounding and defense, this team still struggles on the boards. They're near the bottom of the league in rebounding, and that's something they've got to address if they want to turn things around. What Phoenix does have going for them is their shooting. They're one of the best teams in the league from beyond the arc, knocking down threes at a high clip and with good efficiency. That's going to be a key tonight, especially if the Jazz try to pack the paint with Markkanen and Kessler. But even with all that firepower, the Suns have been wildly inconsistent. They've dropped games they had no business losing, including ones against teams like the Pistons and Grizzlies. That's the kind of stuff that makes you hesitant to trust them, especially when they're double-digit favorites. Utah, on the other hand, has been sneaky good at covering the spread, especially on the road. They've covered in 12 of their 20 road games and have been solid in their last 10 outings overall. Even with their depleted roster, this team doesn't just roll over. In their 2 previous matchups with Phoenix this season, they lost by exactly 8 points both times. That's impressive considering how much firepower the Suns have. But missing guys like Collins and Clarkson is going to hurt, no question. When it comes down to it, I think the Suns are just too talented to mess this one up. Durant and Booker are going to take this matchup personally, especially with the way the season has gone. Beal off the bench adds another wrinkle, and while Utah will fight hard, I don't see them having enough firepower to hang around for 4 quarters. I know the Jazz have been great at covering lately, but this feels like a spot where Phoenix finally puts it all together and gets a convincing win. I'm rolling with the Suns here, not just to win, but to cover that 10-point spread. Let's see if they can deliver. Before we move on, I have a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing might seem like a small action, but it actually makes a big impact for us. Plus, it's completely free for you. Have you clicked that subscribe button? Awesome, thank you so much for your support. Now let's dive back into the video. The third prediction for today is for a game between the Toronto Raptors and Detroit Pistons. The Toronto Raptors are rolling into Detroit with a lot to prove and not much momentum to back them up. Let's face it, this squad has been stuck in a serious slump. They've dropped 14 of their last 15 games and are riding a brutal 4-game losing streak. That recent 132-126 loss to Cleveland, another tough pill to swallow. But with a healthier roster and some rivalry energy fueling the fire, they might just have what it takes to keep things competitive against the Pistons. Detroit, meanwhile, is living a very different story. This team is no longer just a footnote in the East. They're sitting at .500 and have shown real flashes of being a solid unit. Cade Cunningham is balling out, averaging 24.3 points and dishing out 9.3 assists a night. He's been an absolute maestro out there, setting the table early for his teammates and making defenses pay for giving him even a sliver of daylight. Jaden Ivey is also stepping up, and let's not forget Malik Beasley, who's been a revelation off the bench, knocking down threes like it's his day job. This Pistons team isn't just scraping by anymore, they've found their rhythm, and it's showing in their 8-2 record over their last 10 games. Toronto, on the other hand, has had all kinds of issues. Their offense has been sputtering, putting up just 111.1 points per game, while their defense has been as porous as a sieve, giving up a league-worst 119.1. Even with RJ Barrett dropping 23.1 points a game and Grady Dick starting to show some flashes of brilliance, this team hasn't been able to string together wins. The talent is there, but the execution? Not so much. They've got pieces, sure, but they're still figuring out how to make it all click, especially with trade rumors swirling and the front office seemingly looking ahead to next season. And then there's the rivalry factor. Ever since Dwayne Casey landed in Detroit after getting let go by Toronto, these matchups have carried some serious extra heat. The Pistons have already taken the first 2 games of the season series, but Toronto's not about to roll over. They've shown they can hang in games. They covered as 13.5-point dogs against Cleveland, and with a healthier lineup featuring Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley, they might just have enough juice to push Detroit in this one. But let's not pretend Detroit's going to make it easy. This team has been taking care of business against some decent squads recently, and they're playing with a confidence that's hard to ignore. Even without Tim Hardaway Jr., they've found a groove with Beasley spacing the floor and Cunningham doing what he does best, getting his guys open looks and keeping the defense on their heels. When it comes down to it, I'm backing the Raptors to cover the 6-point spread. They've got a chip on their shoulder, a rivalry to lean into, and a roster that's looking healthier than it has in a while. Sure, Detroit's been hot, but this game feels like one where Toronto can dig deep and make it interesting. I'm not saying they'll walk away with a W, but covering? I like those odds. The fourth prediction for today is for a game between the Memphis Grizzlies and Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves and Grizzlies are about to lock horns in what's shaping up to be a classic clash on the hardwood. Minnesota is riding high with a 3-game heater that's pushed them to a solid 20-17 mark, while Memphis, sitting at 24-14, is looking to shake off their recent struggles and find that swagger we all know they've got. Minnesota's resurgence has been powered by none other than Anthony Edwards, who's been nothing short of electric lately. Add Julius Randle to the mix, bringing a much-needed dose of toughness, and this squad is cooking. Edwards has been putting defenders on skates, averaging 25.7 points per game while casually draining triples like he's got the cheat code. Over his last few outings, he's been scorching nets, knocking down nearly 6 trays a game with jaw-dropping efficiency. But it's not just the offense doing the talking. The Timberwolves have been clamping down defensively. Ranked 4th in scoring defense and 3rd in 3-point defense, they've made life miserable for opponents. Rudy Gobert is owning the paint, gobbling up rebounds, and sending shots into the stands like a volleyball spike. Memphis, on the other hand, isn't exactly on fire right now, but let's not get it twisted, they're still dangerous. Ja Morant is back in action, and even in their recent L to Houston, he flashed that magic with a 27-point outing. This squad thrives on offensive fireworks, and with Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. leading the charge, they're always a threat to go nuclear. The Grizzlies boast one of the league's top scoring offenses and have depth that runs deep, 7 players averaging double figures. That's a scary sight for any opponent. Their bench has been stepping up big time, especially during their injury battles. Defensively, Memphis doesn't get enough credit. They're bullies on the perimeter, with the league's best 3-point defense, and Jackson Jr. is an absolute menace down low. He's swatting shots, ripping steals, and dominating the boards, exactly what the Grizzlies need to handle a red-hot Timberwolves squad that's finally found its rhythm from deep. This matchup has all the makings of a barn burner. Edwards versus Morant and Desmond Bane? Sign me up. Edwards has torched the Grizzlies in their past 2 meetings, and with his current hot streak, he's more than capable of doing it again. But Memphis has the depth and defensive chops to counter. They control the paint and dictate tempo better than most, which could tip the scales in their favor. While Minnesota's defense is legit, their offense tends to go ice cold at times, and their bench is hit or miss. Here's my take. I've got Memphis in this one. Their depth, scoring versatility, and the return of Ja give them the edge. The Grizzlies have been one of the best teams against the spread this season, covering over 63% of their games, and I don't see that changing here. While Minnesota's defense will keep this tight, I'm banking on Memphis to cover the 2.5-point spread. This is going to be a slugfest, no doubt, but I trust the Grizzlies to make this game close.
The fifth prediction for today is for a game between the Miami Heat and Portland Trail Blazers. The Miami Heat are rolling into Portland after stringing together a couple of solid wins, but let's not ignore the challenges they're facing right now. They're smack in the middle of a grueling road trip, and this will be their fourth straight game away from home. Sure, they bounced back from a rough loss in Sacramento by absolutely clobbering Golden State and taking a hard-earned revenge win against Utah, but you can't overlook the wear and tear that comes with living out of a suitcase. This road trip has been anything but smooth, and with stops in LA to face the Clippers and Lakers coming up, it's not getting any easier. Let's talk about the Heat's current state. With Jimmy Butler sidelined amid some off-court drama, Miami has had to rely on Tyler Herro to carry the torch. The dude's been stepping up, dropping 23 points in their last outing, and showing he's ready to be the guy when needed. Then there's Jamie Jaquez Jr., who's making the most of his opportunities and showing flashes of serious potential. And don't sleep on Cowell, where coming off the bench, he's been a big energy guy, grabbing boards and throwing his weight around in the paint. Still, Miami's offense feels like it's stuck in second gear at times, and while their defense is their bread and butter, you wonder how much gas they've got left in the tank. On the flip side, Portland is one of those teams you can't quite figure out. Their record isn't pretty, but this squad plays with heart, especially at home. They don't win a ton, but they sure know how to cover spreads. Their offense has been clicking much better in front of their home crowd, and that gives them a puncher's chance in this matchup. Jeremy Grant and Shaedon Sharpe have stepped up alongside Anthony Simons, and with DeAndre Ayton and Donovan Clingan holding it down inside, the Blazers are starting to look like a team that can grind out tough games. Portland has a knack for heating up when it matters. They might fall behind early, but they're never out of it. They'll hit you with a quick run and make things interesting. Denny Avdija's size and versatility have been a nice weapon for them on both ends, and his ability to create mismatches could be a problem for Miami. For the Heat, it's all about staying locked in for the full 48 minutes. They've got to slow down Portland's offense, which is much more dangerous at home, and find a way to get their shooters going. Duncan Robinson's been ice cold lately, but if he can find his stroke, it could be a game changer. On the other hand, the Blazers need to ride the wave of their home court energy. If they can get one of their guys cooking early, whether it's Simons, Grant, or Sharpe, they'll put Miami on their heels. To me, this game feels like an upset waiting to happen. Miami's been grinding on this road trip, and they're probably looking forward to heading back to South Beach. Meanwhile, Portland's offense has been heating up, and they've been feeding off their home crowd. The Blazers might not be the flashiest team, but they've got enough firepower to make this one interesting. I'm backing Portland to cover the 4.5-point spread. They've been scrappy all year at home, and I think they keep that trend going here.